Hello guys, I'm MrPaulG2, and if I'm gonna do an opinion video right now talking about one of my favorite zombie game series. If you'll see by the title, of course you'll see what it is. And these are basically, I would not really do a video like this. I would just wait until the game comes out, then give my full thoughts of what I thought about the game. But I thought, you know what, maybe I should, because I feel like this game is really doing a dissatisfaction maybe to some Dead Rising fans. I'm talking about the true fans, if you know this. So I'm going to be talking about it here. What am I going to be talking about? As you see by the title, I'm talking about Dead Rising 4. Dead Rising 4 is an upcoming game released like from Capcom Vancouver, and it's game released on this, I want to say in December. Next week, basically. Next week is going to be released. The time I'm recording is next week on Tuesday, which will be like, if I look at it right, here, which would be December 6th. December 6th is when it's coming out. Sorry if my mic just bleh. Now, what does that mean? It would compete with a lot of other games, but the main reason I want to give my thoughts on is basically on all the changes and all the things that Capcom Vancouver has done, and basically to what the new directors and all this they got now doing to this game. Now, before I talk about that, I want to talk about the whole entire rest of the Dead Rising series, which was Dead Rising 1, Dead Rising 2, Dead Rising 2 off the record, and Dead Rising 3. Those all the games I played either or a little bit or all of it. Alright? And so I can say with a little bit of reason I know what I'm talking about when I say that Dead Rising 4 has changed a lot from the original Dead Rising formula. And if you want to see my Dead Rising Let's Play, I've done one here on this channel, which I'll leave in the description below, or you can see it at the end of this video. So there's that. But we don't need to talk about that. We need to talk about, first thing I want to point out is they said that their main title line, they're bringing back Frank West. Frank West. Alright. He was the main character of the very first game of Dead Rising 1, and then they brought him back for Dead Rising Case West, DLC that was released for Dead Rising 2, and they brought him back again for an What If story for Dead Rising 2 off the record. And in both those DLCs, when they brought him back, they were good renditions of Frank West. It was still Frank we knew and love, and in anything, it made his character more flowing, more like personal. It made things like people liked what they saw, even though it was like, oh, this guy, who's this guy? But like, he's a douchebag, sure, but like, he's a good one. He knows what he's talking about, and he knows how to kill a zombie, whether or not you think that's good or bad. All right. So, why am I talking about Frank West when I'm saying Dead Rising 4, and why am I saying that I give my impressions that might be bad? Why? Because I have my notes here anyway, so I'm reading off this. The original voice actor has been recast. The original voice actor that was there to voice Frank West has been basically recasted for another voice actor. I don't know the name of the other voice actor, but the other one basically was fuck, I can't remember the name right now, but like basically everyone knew him by like just saying, just there's no TJ. That's the little initials that they like to use for him, TJ. So I know the whole name, but like right now I can't think of it. I'll probably leave it in the description below. Sorry. Anyway, but I love Frank's voice actor, and I loved how they voiced Frank. And like I'll like when I listen to his voice, all I can think is Frank. And while listening to the new voice actor they had for Dead Rising 4, and when I see trailers and this gameplays of it, it didn't sound. It wasn't. When I looked at him, even though they were calling him Frank, even though he said he was Frank, I didn't even think of him as Frank. I didn't think of it as Frank. Alright? Not only that, but when I saw the way they made Frank West this new character now in this Dead Rising 4, they made him more of a corny old man style. Now I understand Frank West does have that personality in the other one, but not as much as they did it in Dead Rising 4. They made it amplified. Not only that, but they made Frank West a little less caring more of things. Now, Frank West did not give a shit when he killed zombies or had to save the day or something like that. Alright? He just got the job done. He knew what he had to do. And when there came to save someone, he went out maybe to do it. And this one, they made it more seem like, yeah, I'm taking pictures, I'm getting this all I'm gonna do. Really? Really? That doesn't seem like that much of Frank West. Sure, there was that personality implications we got from like Off the Record and Case West, but there wasn't that much of it, and like we saw more of Frank West caring about things like you saw about with Isabella and stuff like that and other things. Whether or not people remember that. And also, so we're gonna go back to talking about Frank West here, which I think is a big change about, and we're gonna talk about basically what they changed, the gameplay changes they changed for this new Dead Rising, what the developers changed. Now, the developers were talking about basically how they're gonna go back to Dead Rising's roots, how they're gonna follow everything in before and try to get back to everything Dead Rising is in its core. But all of that was basically lies. They did not try to keep anything. In fact, they took out the timer that was a staple, that was kind of a staple in the game. A timer, of course, was annoying at points. I understand when you have the timer, but the thing is about the timer, it was like it added more to the horror type thing because you knew you barely had enough time to make it to another survivor or make it to that one spot you need to go to continue your story. It added that little anxiety, that little point in the back of your head, that suspense of are you gonna make it? Are you gonna make it? You know? To me, that's what it added. And they took that out, and what they did was, instead of just going like, okay, never mind, we're sorry, we're gonna put it back in, they decided, oh, if you want it, you gotta buy the DLC. You gotta buy the DLC. You gotta buy the season pass in order to get an extra mode where basically you get back the timer because Frank has another infection. And also mini golf. I don't mind no mini golf, but okay, it's mini golf. But yeah, it's, to me, I just thought it was, why would you make it DLC? Why couldn't you make it like the other games? The other games had modes whether or not they were infinite. If you wanted people just to kill zombies for as long as they wanted to, make it like the other modes, like freaking Dead Rising Off the Record's sandbox mode. You literally just went in and you could kill zombies forever. You spent as much time as you want. You had no time limit. There was no time limit. Just kill to your zombie loving content. And you could still go back and go do the timer thing to go do the story. You didn't have to do necessarily any timer things. Sure, you have to get Zombirex one time again, but compared to just not having anything else to do, that was basically back and simple. You could make enough money just to get Zombirex or anything like that. Sandbox mode was a thanking gift to a lot of people, and Dead Rising 1 even had their own thing called Infinite Mode. Basically, what they did was take Infinite Mode and turn it on its head and do the opposite of what Infinite Mode was from Dead Rising 1. And what I mean by that is that Infinite Mode in Dead Rising 1 was a way, like, basically you can play the game for as long as possible until you drop, basically. Chop until you drop. That was also one thing in Dead Rising. That was a little thing they were using for Dead Rising 1. And it was the point where your health was degenerating through time, and you had little to no items to get from the map. It's not like you can get infinite orange juices like you could in the original time limit of the game. You had to go find food and find as much as possible. But in order to do it, you would have to go kill cycles and kill zombies as much as possible. You know, you could do it to your heart's content. all you had to do was just find food. There was no time limit. Just basically, you would just play until how long you survived. That was it. But they instead went like, oh, we're not gonna put no time limit, and also, that's another gameplay thing they changed. They made Frank's health a little bit regenerable. Not only that, but food itself is not as important anymore as it was in the original games. To get food means you get your life back. It means you got more life for you to survive more in the zombie hordes or this psychopath you're facing. And psychopaths will be another thing I'll talk about later, after this. Alright? So, you get food to survive. But now food has basically just an add-on to your regen. Wow. I can just make it instant health now. Not to say that food wasn't that same thing in the back, but it was more important back then. Now it's just, oh, there I go. I'm gonna get health. There were more implications to mixing up things, especially in Dead Rising 1 where they blended stuff. You got extra boost in arms if you knew what to mix. And they took that out. They took more of that out, and they took more of that out. And while there's still combo weapons and weapons like that inside the game, they added more of that and more costumes still there. It doesn't change the fact that they took some of these out. And they changed a lot of what it was. Including, like, one good thing is that they added more zombies. People wanted more zombies on the screen because, hey, zombies, got more zombies on the screen and got a whole street of zombies. I'm gonna kill them all. That's okay. That's alright. You can do that. But to add more zombies, not only that, but that's all they thought people were interested in. Let's just kill zombies. When Dead Rising, sure, it had a weird story. The story was weird. You could barely understand the story sometimes, but when you did, you knew where it was, and you knew, like, okay, these guys are actually doing bad stuff. This is actual, like, conspiracy type shit. And you can actually get into it and actually listen to what you're gonna do and know what you're doing. And they took that out. They made the story more generic in 3, which from what I saw, 2, and I also saw a little bit of 3 in storyline wise, and they made it more kind of generic in 3, which was kind of bad. And I'm not gonna say that 3 was the most horrible Dead Rising game ever, but it's certainly not one of the best. And what I'm gonna say about 3 is that it's still on a good par to being a very good Dead Rising game. But that's the thing. What is a Dead Rising game? How can anyone say that? Anyone can say, oh, it's a zombie killing game. Just, what else is a zombie killing game? Left 4 Dead. You know what else is another one? Freaking hell, they got Left 4 Dead, Dying Light, got more in there. You got, you can kill zombies in Call of Duty. You can kill zombies in this game over here, this game over here. What makes it different? What makes it different from just killing zombies? What differentiates a zombie killing game from another zombie killing game? Like Resident Evil. What differentiates it? And that's the main question. Dead Rising had a lot of things that made it different from every other zombie killing game. It made things and differentiated things that were like totally innovative at the time. But what happened to those innovations? They basically took a lot of them out and just kept the ones they thought were popular in. Like, another gameplay change I've seen is that they totally took out psychopaths. And what that basically means is that they replaced psychos with maniacs. And what some people will say, like, what, isn't it the same thing? No, because the maniacs now are basically, you have to find clues in order to find this maniac. And then you find him. That's it. Basically, isn't that what you do with the psychopath? Yes and no. But the thing about the psychopath is that you go all the way to the psychopath, but then you find out a little bit more about them. Like, you can, if you look to every psychopath, if you look up a video of every psychopath, or any, like, character rendition of every psychopath, they have a character, like, bio of themselves. Like, basically telling you how they went psycho. Like, what happened to them. Or, like, something like that. Especially in Dead Rising 1. Like, there were some psychos that have some intuitive story that you can go like, whoa, what actually happened to this dude to make him go like this? And you know, some of them had like a good story to it. And Dead Rising 2 as well had some things and other things like that. And Dead Rising Off the Record, while still having the same cycles as Dead Rising 2, it added more cycles in a way to change up the story, and it made it more like crazy actually, and just added more things that fans wanted, fan favorites and stuff like that. But all of that is basically gone. You have to deal with maniacs and maniacs henchmen. Maniacs henchmen. The only time I saw you fight anything like anything at all was also like in Dead Rising 3. They had the psychopaths sometimes have these henchmen, but most of those were factions though. So I understood why they had them there, but it still made it questionable. But they still tried to keep the cycles to the same type of pace, but it still felt really generic in a way. But they tried at least, and so I'll give them that. Definitely their cycles had some interest to them. So, but what I've seen is that they took that idea from Dead Rising 3 and just went up on it. Even though they said, we're going back to our roots here, folks. No. You took out psychos and replaced it with maniacs. And in fact, maybe even took out the whole storyline about them. I'll be surprised if there's... I won't be surprised, actually. I won't be surprised if there's no cutscene with maniacs. I won't be surprised if there's no cutscene. I'll just be like, oh wow, found a clue. Defeating henchmen, fighting the maniac, and we're done. Wow, thanks. Seriously, that's how I'll be, because that is not one psychopath. When you face a psycho, like you could, I don't want to keep plugging in my Let's Play, but like, I fought some psychos a little bit in my Let's Play, especially like Adam the Clown. When I went to fight him, it was a total like immersion of it. It's like, just like, oh my god, what the hell is this crazy ass guy? Everyone knows who Adam the Clown is from Dead Rising 1. If you know Adam the Clown, you know what a psychopath is. Adam the Clown is a good example of this. This is this crazy guy that went crazy during the zombie apocalypse, and he is really fucking crazy. And you can see this cutscene of him basically, all he wants to do is entertain the kids, but since the kids are dead basically, he has no one else to entertain, so he has to force people to be entertained for him. And whether or not that's with double chainsaws, you know, that's something else. But things like that are going to be taken out. You're not going to see a cutscene like that where you walk up to Adam in the roller coaster and stuff like that, or like basically you see him sneak up on you or stuff like that. And it's sad. It's sad to see that. Not only that, but another thing they took it out is that they made the zombies non-aggressive. They said they're always aggressive, sure, but no nighttime. No nighttime. Does that mean there's no daylight changes either? Basically, no night and day cycle? Whenever you saw Dead Rising, like, you know, Dead Rising, the daytime, I can run around no matter what. But the first day, that's your first day out, you get to run around all you want. But the moment night hit, you knew, like, the cutscene played, and then you knew that night is not as safe as day. Nowhere is night as safe as day. Because the night makes the zombies go even more crazy. And you saw that in the cutscene that played. And it made it more like, when you went out at night, you knew these zombies are not going to take your shit that much. You knew that they were hunting for you. and it made it more of a horror type feeling. When you went out at night, you knew you were risking your life. You know that even though they saw him during the day they were a little bit more calm. But during the night, they were gonna get you. They were gonna try to eat you as much as they could, as fast as they could. But they took that out. And probably a 9-day cycle. There probably will be or won't be one. I don't know, since they didn't really reveal that much about it. And what they did, all they did was add on evil zombies. Evil zombies, basically evolutionary zombies. What about these zombies? Basically just adding on more zombie types. Think about this, I don't like games that, like zombie games that just keep adding on the types. Like Left 4 Dead, I can understand why they add on zombie types, but like Dead Rising, you already had some zombie types you could keep using, but I understand why you would change it. But these evil zombies, I would welcome them. I would welcome new zombie types, sure. And these ones basically, they just call more zombies. But they're new infection zombies. To an infection that was already cured. But they're new. So they have a new infection. What? Basically, these evil zombies can go against... Oh, and that's another thing I had to talk about the cure and story-wise. But that's another thing I'll talk about later after this. And... like, basically... they can make more zombies for you, but then you have to kill the zombies anyway. Or they'll basically chase after you because they will run after you. Basically, like 28 days later, zombies, you know, the runner type things you would see. They run at you no matter what. Basically like that, you know, the rage type things. And I'm just like, okay, well. Oh, and another thing they did too was they took out save locations. You can't save in the toilet no more. You can't save in the bathroom or anything like that anymore. No suspense. Like, one thing about Dead Rising was also like, am I gonna make it to the saving location? I need to make it to the save location, because then I know I'm gonna go back. I'm gonna go back if I can't make it to the save location. That was another thing. But they took that out and just put checkpoints. You guys should know how I feel about checkpoints. I like checkpoints and all, but like... fucking checkpoints. Anyway, all of this is basically also to like compare to the old games. It's just so many changes. It doesn't look like it's gonna feel like a Dead Rising game. Sure, it's gonna be a zombie killing game, but it won't feel that much of Dead Rising. Another thing I've written on here is that multiple endings. Are they gonna be in there? They haven't said anything about multiple endings or anything like that. But if they take those out, I'm not gonna be happy. Multiple endings is the last thing that was a thing in Dead Rising. And if they take that out, I'm gonna be very disappointed in this. It's not going to be the best Dead Rising game ever. Ever. In fact, it'll be worse than 3. Some people are saying, oh, I don't care. This is going to be a Dead Rising game. I'm going to go kill some zombies. But do you even know what a Dead Rising game is the question. Have you played it throughout all the Dead Rising games? Have really experienced it all the way through? Played all through the story? Do you know what these characters are and what they mean? That's my question. Another thing I've added on here is basically the game developers of the game, Capcom Vancouver, the main producer and like the executive producer and the like developer on there, have always said their main tagline is always Frank is back, Frank is back, we're going back to our roots, we're going back to our roots. But they basically lied about that. They basically lied about that and everything. Not only that, but they also said they were going to get co-op, 4-player co-op. And a lot of that made me happy too, because I wanted to see 4-player co-op in the story. hey man, you always had 2-player co-op, but why not go 4-player? That could make it more exciting. Even though you're gonna take out all the rest of these things, hey, I can still have fun with my friend. But they took that out as well. They took out co-op from the story. You're basically left for single player alone again, like Dead Rising 1. Clearly you brought that back from Dead Rising 1, but the thing is that you're going backwards. Sure, you went back to your roots on that, but that was not the good one. Dead Rising 2 added co-op, and that was the greatest thing we've seen, because it added more. You could play with your friends and all that during the story. Dead Rising off the record even made like a little better, because they improved on what co-op was, and made connections a little bit better with it. Dead Rising 3 had co-op as well. So, Case West was co-opable. I know that as well. They said they didn't, like, I heard there was an article they put also there that they said they wanted to focus on Frank's story. That's why they didn't put co-op. You couldn't add another Frank. You couldn't just clone Frank. The same thing what happened in Dead Rising 2. It was just 2 Chucks. Was it about breaking immersion? Because that wouldn't make sense. You're playing a game where you could literally fucking get duct tape, get a pipe or whatever, and make a Gallic gun or something. Yeah, if I wanted to be immersionable, if I wanted to be realistic, I don't think I'd be playing a game like that. Seriously. And they also said they were always listening to the fans. If that's true, then why are these fans raging out at you guys? Why are these fans going up against you? A lot of fans are getting mad about this. I'm a fan, but all I can say is that this is not what I've expected when I heard Dead Rising 4 is coming out. And it's very, very weird. And the thing is, they also said they're going to keep all the staples. So no time limit, no psychos, food is not important, no save locations, no TJ. Yeah, you're keeping all the staples, alright, by taking most of them out. Literally. You took out much of things, you changed what people were, and you're putting timer in for DLC? Is this just a new way of gamer things? Who can we blame? Should we blame them? Or should we blame the other gamers? Personally, I don't know. You changed Frank West, you took out co-op, you changed everything about it. Anyway, that looks like it's all my notes, but all I can say about Dead Rising 4 is that they only added 4-player co-op to another system, which is basically the same system they added for DLC for Dead Rising 3. But that Dead Rising 3 didn't take out 2-player co-op from the main story. Sure, they added on 4-player co-op, which was a welcome thing. Hey, we can play with 4 people now on a mini game when killing zombies. That's fine. That's fun. You can go like right there. Oh, I can dress up as this or that. You know what? Okay, it's fine. That's multiplayer. It's fun. But when you just put that and take out from the story, it doesn't say good things. It doesn't look good on you, because it makes it look like, oh, you know what? We're gonna take out the things from the originals, and we're just gonna put it out there. And instead of looking like they went back to their roots, it looks more like they only looked at Dead Rising 1, but mainly focused on, oh, what was Dead Rising 3 about? Let's just copy-paste Dead Rising 3, and then just copy-paste Dead Rising 1 on top of it, and we'll just do that, basically. That's all they basically did. But that just completely destroyed a game called Dead Rising. It might as well not even be called Dead Rising. You know? It might as well just not be a Dead Rising game. It might as well be another zombie game. Seriously. it doesn't feel like it's going to be Dead Rising. Not only that, but I'm also on that I was going to talk about story. The thing about the story is that they're talking about a little bit, including a little bit from the story. I've seen a lot of it. I've paid attention to a lot of it. Rewatched a ton of videos. It looks like they're paying attention to a little story, saying that there is a cure for zombies, but they didn't say anything about who gave them the cure that much. Like, where's Nick Ramos? You put Nick Ramos at number 3. He's the cure. So, where's his name? Where's his name? God, guys, I thought you would be thankful for someone who can solve the cure for zombies. I thought Nick Ramos' name would be pasted all over the walls, just like Frank West was in Dead Rising 3. But instead of that, it doesn't look like any... Is there any mention of Chuck Green at all? Is Isabella in the game? Isabella Keys? At all? Any involvement? Phenotrans? Anything, you know? Anything at all? Remnants of Phenotrans? Anything like that? I don't know. It looks totally different. It looks like a new government thing. It looks like the government themselves. Literally, the Pentagon. The Pentagon is the bad guys or something. Like, what the fuck? Like, I understand, yeah, the government themselves had some shady deals and stuff like that. But, like, did they just take everything that Phenotrans made and there you go? Seriously, where's Isabella? They just dropped her story after she basically cleared her name of crimes and stuff like that? Would Isabella just stop after finding the cure? Wouldn't Frank ask questions if Chuck knew where Isabella was? Or, like, Nick Ramos at all? I don't know. They didn't. I don't know what their answer to that question did Rising for. So, in conclusion, Dead Rising 4 looks like it's going to be not much of a appreciation of what Dead Rising is, and not really much going back to the roots at all. Not much saying Frank is back, more like, hey, this is a guy who like acts like Frank, basically. You know, we might as well not call him Frank. I know there was a thing here. I remember he had a stupid nickname in one of the cutscenes, which was called Hank East. Really? Did you really have to make Frank that dumb? I know he's dumb. Frank is dumb. He's not smart. But he's clever. He's clever. But he's not super retarded. Hank East? You know what? Fuck it. Just put the picture there. We're slapping on Hank Hill's face right there. There you go. Hank. That's new Hank. We're done here. I'm MrPaulG2. Thank you guys for watching. I'm signing off.